Hello and welcome to the InternView, a series focused on checking in and catching up with Actors Express's interns from the past, present, and future. I am Eliott Grenier, a current acting intern at Actors Express, and today I'm joined by a fellow intern from the 2018-2019 season. She's originally from Ohio, where she went to Wright State University for acting and a minor in women, and gender, and sexuality studies. She's a person who is never afraid to stand up for her beliefs and has most recently been on Talk and Walk, a children's guide to racial justice. I'd like to welcome Caitlyn Shiner. How you doing, Caitlyn?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. So, starting things off, as tradition, what got you into theater in the first place?
I was a very precocious child. And I always needed to be the center of attention. And also I was really bad at sports. Yeah, I was the most uncoordinated child. And so I started doing children's theater when I was in the 5th grade, I think, 5th or 6th grade. And I was just hooked instantly. And here I am.
So you went to college, then focused in acting. Was that your goal from the beginning? And then you had your minor in women, gender, and sexuality studies. Has that been a focus for you as your journey to kind of pair the two, or are they kind of just two separate interests?
I always wanted to go to school for acting, but I didn't necessarily know about all the women's studies stuff. But I took an intro course as a gen ed and was obsessed. Like, I was hooked. I was in it. I was like, I am so interested in this, and it's never, like, things like that aren't taught in like K through 12 education at all, which is unfortunate because I don't necessarily believe that what's taught in traditional K through 12 education is a holistic education. It's very much an education from one point of view. And this was the first time I heard about the world and the country from a different point of view. And so I was hooked. And I do hope to pair them. I mean, you know me, I'm really focused on sort of theater for social change and shows that have an impact and shows that mean something and aren't just for enjoyment. I think that storytelling is the best way to like increase empathy and the best way to learn about others' experiences. And the best way to really change hearts and minds. So I would love to pair them. I love to pair them any chance I get.
So you go to college and then you hear about Actors Express. What was your first intro to them? Were they appealing to you for the reasons that like you just went over, or was it because you wanted to get your foot in the door in Atlanta?
So I was trying, when I was a senior, I was trying to figure out where I was going to go. And I was looking at Chicago. I didn't really want to go to New York. I was looking at some smaller cities like Cincinnati in Ohio to maybe start there and then move on. And Jake, who is one of my dear friends, really was like, you should look at Atlanta, you should look at Atlanta, you should look at Atlanta. And I was like, fine.
Reluctantly, you're like, all right.
I was like, okay. And I ended up doing the Atlanta Unifieds because I did a bunch of Unifieds in a bunch of different cities. Just to like see what would happen. And I got a call back for Actors Express. And so then I researched them. And I was like, oh, I'm obsessed with the mission, with the message, with the type of theater that they're doing. And I was like, oh, I really want to get this internship. And then I had an interview audition with Freddie. And it was amazing. And I had a great time. And I felt like really like this would be a good place for me. And then I was like, please, I want to get it. And then I did.
What was it like then? So you didn't move down here until you got the internship, or did you already make plans to come down here?
So I moved about a month before our internship started. I moved at the end of July.
Great. And what was that experience like? I mean, had you ever done something like that before? Was it exciting or challenging in any way?
It was both exciting and challenging. The closest thing was I had an internship at a theater in Chicago the summer after my junior year. So I moved there for 3 months, which isn't the same as moving, but it was a kind of similar thing, more temporary. But it's hard. I mean, it's hard to move to a brand new place where I knew one person coming in until I met all of y'all. So it was hard. It was a transition. It was a brand new place. And I mean, I wouldn't have thought like there would be a big difference, but like Ohio really is the North and this is really the South. And I do think there's a cultural shift. Like, I do think culturally, like this area just functions in a different way.
So you had to adapt a bit to like, figure it out. Sweet tea is a thing a lot down here, When you got into the internship, what was it like meeting everybody for the first time? Was it fun? What was it like to meet a bunch of people who you're going to work with for a year?
It was, I'm so sorry. Max the cat.
Well, that's fine. Oh, it's a special
Say hi
guest.
to Eliott. You can't be up here right now. It was terrifying. Like, I remember, like, I barely remember the first, because I met most people I remember meeting you. You were the first person I met.
Right.
But like the whole night of the like welcome rules night, I don't really remember it because I was so nervous that I think I just blacked out. I don't know. I get really nervous if people are going to like me or not. And like, if I'm going to like them, and is it going to be a group that clicks together? Is it going to be a group that has a lot of conflict? Am I going to make friends?
Yeah. You hope for the best and then you expect, you fear for the worst, right?
Yes. I was terrified. But it ended up being great. I love you guys.
When things got tough, what was a specific challenge for you over the coming year? Or I guess 9 months, if we're really,
Oh,
coronavirus. Yeah, we won't.
I mean, just it's a lot of hours.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of late nights, and we're all working other jobs, so like it's a lot of being there until 2:00 in the morning, and then having to get up at 7 to go to your day job. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that, and just like, I mean, I loved the experience. I loved it so much, but it's kind of exhausting.
Yeah, I know that for our group, we eventually I ended up going up before to try and avoid the 2 a.m. nights, but then you had to show up earlier. So it can be a lot of juggling. Right? It's
a lot of juggling. It's a lot of hours of just being at the theater, because we would do, as you know, be there for the main stage rehearsals. We would run crew, we would do the laundry, and also we had to have our own rehearsals for understudying the shows and for our understudy performances. So it's just like being there every day all the time can just be exhausting.
Yeah. And then how did you cope with that? How did you cope with being in the grind, especially when you're at the, halfway point?
Ooh, when we hit the halfway point, I was like, how is it only the halfway point?
I know some people were just like, coffee is the solution, right?
Coffee is the solution. Alcohol when you're not there is an excellent helper. I think it was really important for me to like set aside time to rest. That was something that I like made sure to like schedule, which sounds ridiculous, but like scheduling relaxation time or scheduling for these hours, I'm just gonna lay in my bed or I'm gonna watch TV, when you could find the time. I think that was really important. And also I think, the other interns, I think we all were good at relying on each other when we were having hard times. And I think it's good to rely on people that, are experiencing the same thing you are.
Absolutely. And so on the flip side, what was some of your best experiences? What was something that you thought was a highlight?
Just working with everybody, both the interns and the professional actors. Not that we're not professional actors, but like the main stage cast. I just like loved working with everybody. I feel like watching those rehearsals, I learned so much. And I feel like working on our own, I learned so much. And it's cool to get to see all of the different creative processes and all of the different ways that people work and all of the different ways into a character or into a story. Like, I don't know, I was always learning and having a blast. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. So then with the intensity, you still enjoyed being there. It's just the pairing of the two, right?
I'd say most of the time I still enjoyed it. I mean, everybody has bad days.
Right.
But yeah, I think most of the time I was like, even if I didn't want to be here, I'm learning something and I'm having moments of laughter and joy. So
what was it like then to have the theater shut down on you?
I mean, it kind of sucked. But also, I mean, I think in the very beginning, I'm not going to lie, there was a little bit of a sense of like, oh, a break.
Right.
But I never could have imagined that that was the end. You know what I mean? Like, I think we were like a couple weeks and I was like, I don't mind a little break.
Yeah.
And then we can come back, but we never did. It was hard. It was hard to go from all day, every day kind of being at this theater and working at this theater to nothing and no creative outlet. I mean, we did some Zoom shows, which I enjoyed. It was good to like have that creative outlet. But yeah, it was really hard. I felt really kind of like I was floating for a while, you know, like I was like, I'm not going to my normal job. I'm not going to Actors Express. I'm just kind of sitting at home doing nothing. And that was hard. It was hard to feel tethered to the world at that point.
Yeah, and I know that when, you know, we were also about to ramp up for our showcase.
Yes, we were like getting close to showcase time. We were doing rehearsals. We had just gotten to off book, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we were really gearing up with that and then nothing.
Yeah. So what did you do then to cope with that situation? You know, how did you, what were your tactics, I guess, to figure out, hey, you know, I've got all of this time and now energy. Cause you know, this isn't like a snowmageddon where we were gone for 2 weeks. It's been 2 months, you know,
Yeah.
where'd your mind go?
Well, I ended up going home for a long time. I mean, I think I was very much clinging to our Zoom plays, and also we did the class over Zoom, which was nice. I went home for a really long time, which was nice to like be with my family. That was really helpful. But also being here, we formed like a little quarantine colony. So it was me and Jacob, and then like some of our friends who lived like 5 minutes down the road. So we would all like stay together and hang out all the time. And we did a lot of play readings. Like we would sit around and read plays. We did do one on Facebook Live and it was a disaster.
I thought it was great. The parts
it was a mess, but it was fun. But we did like that, but we stopped putting it on the internet. But we read a lot of plays aloud, and we watched honestly a lot of like any like live show that is recorded that you can find on any site. We watched. So it was a lot of that.
Awesome. And so then now we move up towards the now you've been working with TJ on Talk and Walk. How did you get started with that? And then tell us your experience about it.
So it was actually TJ and Parker were kind of the big, I mean, it was through Lee, essentially. But it was started out as a TJ and Parker thing, and they approached me and Josh about like helping and being in some of the videos. And we were like, cool. But then, and it was supposed to be TJ and Parker and then like a bunch of other actors. But then they kind of shrunk it so it would just be TJ and Parker and me and Josh.
Oh.
And we ended up initially the very first video, a woman wrote the script, and then we just did that first video, me and TJ, with Parker and Josh kind of recording us, and Parker was directing mostly, and Josh was doing all the camera.
Oh.
And we ended up helping a lot with writing the other scripts, which was cool, and also was like a cool way to get our creative juices flowing. And we're working on recording the rest. I got really sick for a minute, so we had to put it on hold, and Josh currently is very sick, so we had to put it on hold. No coronavirus, just like normal sickness.
Oh, good. It's weird to say that.
We're trying to finish recording this week. So.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, so then with all of that, what does the future look like for Caitlyn Shiner? You know,
for Caitlyn Shiner, I'm hoping to do more projects that aren't specifically geared towards education or towards making a difference. So especially right now with the world that we're living in and all of the things going on, like there's just no way that I could justify, there's no way that it would be okay to do something that's not about, you know, racial inequity, something that's not about the current political climate, something that's not about, you know,
Absolutely.
there's too much going on.
Awesome.
And right now it's too much of like a moment into a movement, right? So
And now I'm going to move on to the last bit. Caitlyn, do you have any parting words, anything that you want to share with everybody?
use what is offered to you. You know, you have access to the future interns. You have access to Actors Express for a year. Like, period, end of story. You can always be in there. You can always, like, take advantage of that. Like, really talk to the people that you're understudying. Really talk to the directors. Talk to the stage managers. Get, like, pick their brains in an appropriate and non, like, way. You know, use the space for self-tapes. Use the space for other things you need. Like, you know, just take advantage. You have so many resources, so concentrated. Take advantage of them, you know? Make friends. Like, you know, I feel very much like I have a place in Atlanta theater because I know so many people after this internship. And I know also so many of the interns that were at other theaters during our time. You know, we are the people who are coming up into this city, and we have to maintain our communication and maintain our sort of presence. So
Thank you so much, Caitlyn. I really appreciate your
thanks,
time.
Eliott. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.